Welcome to Lesson 7. This is where your Docker images grow up. The image you built in Lesson 6 works, sure, but it's 1.2 gigabytes, packed with build tools you don't need in production, and worst of all, it runs as root. Today we're going to take that exact same app and ship it as an 80 megabyte image, 15 times smaller, dramatically faster to push, and genuinely secure. So here's the roadmap to get there. 4 skills, in order. First, picking the right base image because choosing between Node 20 and Node 20 Alpine is the difference between 1.1 gigs and 170 megs. Second, multi-stage builds. That's the trick that gets us under 100 MB. Third, layer caching done right, so your rebuilds take seconds instead of minutes. And fourth, the security defaults, running as non-root and scanning for vulnerabilities before you ship. Let's start with that first skill, the base image. Same Node 20 runtime, 6 wildly different sizes. Full weighs in at 1.1 gigs because it ships all of Debian plus build tools you'll never use. Slim trims that to 240. Alpine drops you to 170, and distroless gets you down to 120 with no shell and no package manager to attack. My default? Alpine for 99% of apps, Slim when Alpine breaks on glib dependencies, and distroless when security is the top priority. Now for the big trick, multi-stage builds. The idea? Stage 1 is your heavy workshop with Node, NPM, dev dependencies, TypeScript compiler, the whole 1.2 gig toolchain. Stage 2 is a clean runtime that only receives the compiled artifacts via copy from builder. Docker throws Stage 1 away and you ship 80 megs instead of 1.2 gigs. 15 times smaller, faster pulls, smaller attack surface, 1 Dockerfile, no extra tooling. Same mindset applies inside a single stage. Every run creates a layer, and layers are immutable. So if you apt-get update in line 1, install 3 packages in lines 2 through 4, then try to delete the apt cache in line 5. Too late. That cache is already baked into layer 1, costing you about 140 megs forever. Chain it all with and in a single run, clean up in the same step, and you get 1 tight layer instead of 5 bloated ones. Now let's talk security. By default, every container you build runs as root, and if an attacker breaks out of that container, they're root on the host. That's a disaster waiting to happen. The fix is one line, user node, right before your CMD. The official node, Postgres, and Redis images already ship with a non-root user ready to go, so use it. And while you're at it, use copy, chown to set ownership in the same step, instead of adding a chown layer afterward. 2 small habits. Massive blast radius reduction. Locking down root is great, but your image still inherits CVEs from every layer underneath. Docker Scout ships inside Docker Desktop. Just run Docker Scout CVEs on your tag, and you'll see the breakdown by severity, plus the exact package and fix version. Prefer open source? Trivy does the same job. The habit matters more than the tool. Scan locally after every build, gate your CI on critical equals 0, track the count trending down each week, and bump your base image often. Going from Alpine 3.18 to 3.19 alone wipes out a chunk of them. Now for the power moves. 6 tricks that separate senior Docker users from the rest. Turn on Build Kit for parallel. Smarter builds. Add a cache mount, so NPM install stops re-downloading the world on every CI run. Switch your base to distroless when you don't need a shell in production. Build for AMD 64 and ARM 64 in one command, so your M-series Mac and your x86 servers share the same tag. Generate an SBOM with Docker Scout. Enterprise buyers will ask, and run Docker history to see exactly which instruction added that mysterious 200 megabytes. Here's everything from this lesson on a single page. Pin it next to your monitor. The left column shrinks your image. Alpine base, non-root user, production ENV, and history to hunt down bloat. The middle column is the multi-stage workflow plus dev dependency pruning and multi-arch builds. The right column is your security and ops layer, cherry-picking artifacts, collapsing run commands, scanning for CVEs, and adding a health check. 12 patterns. That's the difference between a dev image and a production-grade one. Now flip it around. Here are the 5 mistakes that scream junior Dockerfile. Shipping dev dependencies bloats your runtime by hundreds of megabytes. Baking secrets with env leaves them in Docker history forever. Use ARG or runtime flags instead. Not pinning versions kills reproducibility. Putting copy ... too early kills your cache. And skipping Docker Scout means you're shipping known CVEs. 5 seconds of scanning beats a 3 a.m. incident. Time to put it all together with 3 exercises on your Lesson 06 image. First, swap node, 20 for node, 20 alpine, and watch 1.1 gigs collapse to about 170 megs, one line 6 times smaller. Second, split it into a builder stage so dev dependencies stay behind and only artifacts ship. Third, add a non-root user, chown your files, and run Docker Scout CVEs. The number won't be 0. Track it. Don't fear it. And that's Lesson 07 in the bag. Lean, fast, secure. You've got Alpine as your default base, multi-stage builds keeping artifacts clean, a non-root user hardening the runtime, and Scout watching your CVEs. But running containers one Docker run at a time gets old fast. Next up, compose. One YAML, many services, one command, web, DB, and cache wired up instantly. See you in Lesson 08.